if you ever want to know why the more money Africa get, the worse off Africa is because the interest on the loan, you can't pay it back in a million years.
It's too deep.
It's too deep to pay back. So basically, you're not purchasing a loan, you're purchasing slavery. Of the African is the first slavery where the victim was stripped of their humanity. See, people always say, why y'all keep talking about slavery? Everybody been slaves. Y'all ain't the first slaves. In fact, the word slave comes from Slav, which describes one of the first European groups to be enslaved in Europe. Right?
Okay.
That's true. We're not the first, but we're the only ones ever, including biblical slavery, to be stripped of your humanity. Civil rights bill was not passed so you can live with white folks and date white folks and go to their hotels. You know why it was passed? So that they could benefit from the black dollar. That matters the most. It's the purity of your heart and your intentions. And a lot of people in today's conscious movement, the YouTube voices, not to throw nobody under the bus, brother, I couldn't give you three.
Salute, Loon.
Yeah, exactly.
It's my man, Loon.
That's my man, too.
Both Loons. Old Loon, new Loon, both Loons.
Okay.
Yeah,
All ops must know it's up there and it's stuck there, nigga.
When it's up there, man, it's stuck there.
Shut up.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the fantasy sports platform that's changing the game for people like us. With Prize Picks, you can test your knowledge with picking over and under for your favorite player stats across a wide variety of sports. Think football, baseball, basketball, and beyond. So why wait? Jump into Prize Picks right now and bring more excitement to game day. Whether you're cheering from the stands or the couch, Prize Picks adds that extra layer of fun for sports excitement. Again, my slogan, why would you put something on the game when you could put something on the name? Let's get into those picks and start winning with Prize Picks today. IUTP code. Let's get back to the show. Hey, we do have very, very special guests in the building. We got a guy that I really couldn't wait to speak to. Is one of the most polarizing figures in our culture. We got Dr. Umar Johnson in the building. How's it going, my brother?
Peace and love, black man. Thanks for having me on the show, on the podcast.
Yes, sir.
Peace and love to the entire black Tennessee and especially to black Nashville. Glad to be back.
That's a fact. I appreciate that. Now, tell me, first, of course, we want to chop it up about a lot of different things. I want to ask you first, what brings you to Nashville?
This is my second visit to Nashville. First visit was 2014 or 15, Fisk University. Jam-packed, sold out. Fisk University gymnasium was just overwhelming. Right. I did not know that I had that type of love in Nashville or the state of Tennessee. So this is my first visit since then, only my second. And I'm here to celebrate the 4th annual Soul Day, Nashville Soul Day, which will be at East Park tomorrow, 12 to 5. And I'll be speaking food, fun, family. You know how the outdoor events go.
Facts.
And I love the outdoor events because you can get some of that sun, get some of that energy.
Yes,
you know, you don't have to be all pent up in the inside. But thanks to the host of the Soul Day, they brought me on down. So I'm glad to be back.
Facts. And we welcome you. Like I said, it's a lot of love in Nashville for you. Like from the YouTube views to people just knowing who you are, just respecting what you stand on, or on the contrary. But either way, it's a lot of people that knows who Umar Johnson is, and I welcome you. Anything you need, again, while you're here, I'm of assistance. So if you guys need anything,
thank you.
Like reach out to me, and that's a fact. I'll help in any way I can. And so, what's on the agenda for you? What's on your mind? I want to ask you that.
Well, right now, probably the biggest project I'm working on is the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy.
Yes.
We purchased 2 buildings in Wilmington, Delaware this past February. As you know, we have been raising money for 4 years, almost 5 years.
Yes, sir.
So we were blessed. The Most High blessed us. We were lucky enough to not only get 1 building, but 2 of them.
Yes, sir.
In Wilmington, Delaware, in the black side of the city.
Yes, sir.
So right now, we're just trying to raise $1 million to restore those buildings. We actually have a campus, 2 schools, and then plus 2 other buildings. So if we can raise $1 million, we can do the whole campus. If we can get $500,000, we can do 2 of the 4 buildings. And if we can only get $250,000, we can refurbish at least the small school building, which will allow us to get started until we raise enough money to take care of that big building.
So what takes priority? Let's say if you do get the $250,000, do you know where you want to start?
The small building.
Okay.
And we renamed that the Honorable Marcus Garvey building.
Okay.
And the large school building, which is the Mecca, that like once we get that one up and done,
Good.
that'll be the one-stop shop for the whole community.
Yes, sir.
And we're calling that the Honorable Frederick Douglass building. So my thinking is, my logic, get the Garvey building done.
Mm-hmm.
You can get started with your second, third, fourth grade academy.
It's facts.
That gives you a couple years to show and prove to the community that you're not playing.
Right.
Then you get the money for the Frederick Douglass building, and now you got your whole K-12.
So when you were coming up with the school, it was a very, very long journey. There was a lot of things happening. You also spoke about the Mary Ann, was it the woman's side, kind of the woman's school?
Oh, the Anna Douglas Amy Garvey Academy. I got you. ADAG.
Yes.
The beauty of the Wilmington campus, because we have two schools, we may be able to introduce the female academy sooner than originally planned. Because I only thought we would get one building.
Yes.
We have two buildings.
Yes, sir.
So I believe that we'll probably be bringing the young women in sooner than originally scheduled, but I don't want to say when, because if I say when,
they're going
to hold me to it. So all I'm going to say is I anticipate having the girls at the school within 2 to 3 years.
Okay, so that's still in you. That's still.
Oh, for sure. We can't leave the girls out.
Okay,
we can't leave. I have two daughters myself.
Right.
We can't leave the girls out. But the reason I start with the boys, because everywhere I go, and I know they're going to ask me tomorrow, why are you only talking about the boys? The way I see it, taking care of black boys is also taking care of black girls, because the number one challenge of the black woman is what? Finding a suitable mate who can protect and provide. Right. So if we're building black men from the ground up who have the ability to protect and provide for their queen, are we not taking care of the women as we take care of the men?
Right, because you're putting a mate there.
You're putting a mate
that's solid.
You're putting a mate there that's solid.
Yeah. And so when you started this school thing, and like I said, the journey you went on, what steps is it for you to get the school recognized in regards to like the state?
Yes. It depends on the state.
Okay.
Good question. Remember, the United States Constitution does not afford anyone the opportunity to get an education. The word education is not even in your Constitution. The United States Department of Education was founded in the 1980s. So it's only been around 40 years.
Right.
So education,
right,
as much as the propaganda would suggest,
yes,
is not a priority of the United States government. In fact, there's a movement to eliminate the United States Department of Education, because there's a lot of white folk who say, why am I paying taxes for a service my Constitution does not obligate me to pay? And on top of that, more than half of all white folks either do not have children, do not have school-age children anymore, or send their school-age children to private school.
So they don't need the government. They don't need the structure. Right.
So their question again is, why do I have to pay taxes for not only something my Constitution does not require, but something that me myself do not need?
Right.
You see, so in your lifetime, you may see where there's no longer a United States Department of Education. Getting back to the question, every state is different. Let me compare two for you. Delaware and Pennsylvania. Okay. I live in one, the school is in the other, right? In Pennsylvania, because it is a commonwealth and one of the oldest education states in America, they have a very intense, bureaucratic private school process.
Okay.
Pennsylvania needs to approve your private school curriculum.
Before they approve the school.
They want to see what you're teaching.
Right.
Delaware, you still have oversight. You still have to be accountable. You still have to register. But it's not as intense, which is a blessing for us. Why?
Right.
Because our curriculum isn't something that they're going to be looking to approve.
Right.
So we need that freedom, which is why I would say I believe it was divine intervention that the school ended up in Delaware and not Philadelphia.
And that's what I was going to ask, because did you think about that? Because it was a lot of schools you had in your scope. You was, hey, we got one. I just found one. Like, we need to get down there and get it. Let's get it. Yeah. And it's like, that school's gone.
That school's gone.
Did you think about that when you were doing that, or did it just happen?
I did. It did just happen. But I did think about that as well, because there's a school in my neighborhood, North Philadelphia. Okay, I'm from the same neighborhood as Jill Scott, Bill Cosby, Meek Mill lived right across the street.
Shout out.
Friends with my younger brother. I don't know him personally, but I remember him.
Right.
Okay, same block, 18th and Berks.
Right.
I wanted to get a school in that neighborhood, Catholic school for sale.
Right.
But the realtor practiced real estate racism on me, lied and told me that the school was not available to be sold yet. I found out later that he lied, right? I didn't press the issue because in him lying, that bought me time to come and learn that the school that I originally wanted, the Delaware school, was now going to be offered to me with the monies that we had. In other words, if the realtor in Philly didn't play the race card,
right,
and try to keep me from getting that school, I would have bought it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which means we would have it. That would have needed to been restored as well.
Right.
But on top of restoring the school, you now got to play politics with the Pennsylvania Department of Education.
Right.
So when you look at the divine intervention, the ancestor said,
yeah.
Because that state already got you embroiled in everything.
Yes.
They definitely ain't going to try to give you the approval to do your school.
Right. Because, and now, not to cut you off, while you were doing that, I did see that they drug you in the court.
Pennsylvania State Board of Education charged me with presenting myself as a licensed psychologist without a license, right?
Yeah.
I've never claimed to be a licensed psychologist because I never pursued the license.
Right.
In other words, I'm not somebody who took the test and failed it.
Right.
I never went for it.
Exactly.
Because I'm a certified school psychologist.
Okay.
Right? You have school psychology, which is the special ed umbrella.
Okay.
And then you got clinical psychology, which is everything else, your mental illness.
Right.
My doctorate is clinical.
Okay.
But I'm certified in school. And
so
because
I'm
both sides. And with the amount of work that I have as a certified school psychologist, there's really no need for me to get a license. What am I going to do with it?
Right.
In Pennsylvania, a certified school psychologist can practice privately.
Okay.
This is the law.
Right.
So what am I in here for? And guess what they said? Because you went on the Breakfast Club.
That's what I said.
This was their evidence. The Breakfast Club.
I seen that. I see that.
Are you serious? He played the Breakfast Club. We in a court of law. And you pulling up Charlemagne and Envy. You see? You said that you practice privately. I'm legally allowed to. I'm 20 years in.
Right.
Read your own statute. It says right there, a certified school psychologist can practice privately.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Right.
They had no case.
Do you think some of that was to stop your momentum?
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
But I can exclusively credit white supremacy. With that, I got to credit the coons in the community, too.
We got them.
Because a lot of them were calling them.
Yeah.
Making complaints against me.
Right.
People who disagree with my position on the LBGT movement.
Yes, sir.
People who disagree with my position on multiculturalism.
Right.
People who disagree with my position on interracial dating.
Right.
It was that animosity that led to a crusade to try to get the state to clamp down on me.
Right. And I was, because we've seen with Facebook, Google, things like that, how they, Instagram, social media in itself, how they kind of shadow ban people and do certain things. Right when that was happening, there was a flip on YouTube in regards to you. When you Google Umar Johnson prior to, there were videos of you just speaking like you do every day. After that, there was a surge of Dr. Umar Johnson exposed. Dr. Umar Johnson said this. Boyce Watkins was up there. He was saying stuff. Mm-hmm. And when you looked at what Boyce Watkins was saying, it was almost like a game. These guys are playing a weird game.
Yes.
Yes. He says, well, I didn't say anything. This girl said it. And she's a black woman. It's a crazy thing. So with that switch, I just thought to myself, I'm like, I wonder what's this to kind of stop the momentum. Because
without question.
Yeah.
Without question. Here, 3 things to your point. Number one, my work suffers to a degree because, unlike the Black Power movement of the 60s, there's not a lot of other serious national and international organizers who can help distract the power structure from following my every move.
Right.
See, King had Malcolm.
Right.
Malcolm had Medgar.
Right.
Medgar had Stokely. Stokely had Core. Core had SNCC.
Right.
SNCC had the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. They had the Freedom Riders. The Freedom Riders had the sit-ins. The sit-ins had the HBCU protests.
Right.
In other words, even though J. Edgar Hoover was all over each of their backs, he had to worry about 10 other legitimate movements.
Right.
We don't have that now. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it,
Right.
as a result of the police genocide campaign that was reignited under the administration of Barack Hussein Obama, that campaign exposed the traditional civil rights leadership cartel, Jackson, Sharpton, NAACP, Congressional Black. It exposed them as being ineffective because they couldn't give our youth an answer to police genocide.
Yes.
So when Sharpton went down to Charleston, South Carolina,
Yes.
and tried to organize the community there to be quiet and let the police do their investigation, he was disinvited.
Yeah, they
He
told
was
him
also disinvited, I believe, from Baltimore.
Yes.
Jackson, disinvited.
Yes.
So for the first time in our life,
Yeah.
we saw major civil rights leaders be disinvited
Get out of
by the community.
Right.
That opened up a vacuum where now, for the first time in our history in America, this may be the first time in 400 years, you do not have an identified black leader
That's right.
that the youth
Can look
respect.
to. Right.
And I believe that was part of the assault on my political character because they said
You were coming.
I was coming.
Yeah.
Kill it.
Yes.
Because one thing we know about military science,
Yes.
before you exterminate the body, you exterminate the reputation.
Yes.
If you can kill the reputation of the black man, you may not even have to kill the black man
Yeah.
because his people will do it for you.
Exactly.
So what you see happening to Dr. Umar right now is the assassination
Yeah.
of my political reputation
Yes.
as a means of doing what? Destabilizing and killing the momentum.
And the message.
And the
right?
message.
Because the message, whether or not people agree with it in its entirety, there's some meat in this message.
Oh, for
man.
sure.
Like
For
if
sure.
you don't understand it, that's cool. But the logic in it, in a lot of places, is there. You can look at it. It
Yes.
makes total sense.
Yes.
And some people, like I said, when I said, dude, and to see the Tariq Nasheeds, and especially with you, I watched Colors because of you.
As the many
I'm
people.
not nobody that, like, I'm not saying it because you here. I'm
Right.
saying that because that's the truth. And so even when that happened, I'm like, this infighting, like we're going right back to infighting in a time where we don't have that recognizable face. Like, who is it? Who is it? And when you, like I said, you were coming, and man, when you were coming with force.
Yes.
When you like your conversations now, they were just filled with shit, and it was boom, bam,
Yeah.
bam, bam,
Yeah.
bam. They cannot. It was nothing they can do with
Exactly.
it. And so when I see that, and I say, okay, Boyce Watkins, he did the same thing to Farrakhan too. He said,
Yes.
hey, this person said something. I didn't say it. It's
Yeah.
all good. I don't really understand it. The YouTube don't pay that well.
Yeah.
You know, for guys to do all of that. for
Low
those-
key hating.
Yeah.
Low key.
I didn't get-
Soft, very sophisticated,
Yes.
careful with it.
Yes.
But what you're doing is introducing a whole bunch of negative
Yes.
doubts into people's
Yes.
minds
Yes.
who previously didn't have those doubts.
And then what? And like you said, and what happens is when you start to do that, somebody goes, and they don't ever hear you respond to it. And
Yeah.
that's why it's important for this kind of
Oh,
thing
for
to
sure.
happen. Because
For sure.
what'll happen is when they do that and then you do this, it's a response to that.
Yes.
But with you doing the real work, you don't have the same time they do.
Exactly. And that's the thing, because for a lot of them, they do nothing but sit on YouTube.
Right.
And not to blow my horn, because there's other activists out there on the community level, yourself and
Right.
others, but on that national, international,
Yeah.
black conscious level,
Yeah.
there's few who do the work the way that I do it.
Right.
So even with the criticism that came from us taking so long to get a school,
Right.
which you're in real estate,
Yes.
it takes a while
Yes.
to get property,
Yes.
especially when it's expensive, especially
Yes.
when you're dealing with commercial.
Yes.
You see, so I'm out there grinding to try to get this school.
Right.
they living off of YouTube money. You follow?
Right.
And people not putting two together and say, well, wait a minute. If they got time to make a video a day, what are they actually doing for the people? I don't have a YouTube channel.
That's what I'm saying.
Most people don't know this because there's a lot of channels that are misrepresenting themselves as mine.
Because of money.
Because of money. There's a King Kong Consciousness channel.
Yeah.
I don't know who owned that.
Right.
There's a Prince of Pan-Africanism channel.
Yeah.
I don't know who owned that.
Yeah.
So people think I thought that's your channel because it's all your videos.
Yeah.
It's not mine.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even have a problem with them having it
Right.
if they made a donation to the school.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
please.
you got people who've been plugging my info, never made a donation to the
Yes.
school.
Yes.
That's what bothers me.
Right.
But see, here's the other issue. And this has been a historic problem with black leadership. You can go back to the days of Frederick Douglass Martin Delaney. You go back to the days of Malcolm and Martin. You can go back to the days of almost anyone you want to bring up. That ego of the Negro has always divided our people. The ego of the Negro has always divided our people.
Yeah.
However, with Douglass and Delaney, they were still able to coexist.
Right.
With Malcolm and Martin on the eve of Malcolm's assassination,
Right.
through Coretta Scott, rest in peace, Malcolm had agreed to unite forces with King. Delaney united forces with Douglass at times. You see, so even though they differed politically, they were able to come together. You know why that is?
Yeah.
Because the intentions were sincere.
Right.
See, I always tell people, I'm a Pan-Africanist.
Yeah.
I'll never be a Hebrew.
Yeah.
I'm not interested.
Right.
I'll never be in the Nation of Islam. I'm not interested.
Right.
I'll never be a Nawapian. I'm not interested.
Right.
I'll never be a God on earth. I'm not interested.
Right.
But I respect all of those movements because they have all contributed to our people and where we are today. I have friends and supporters in those movements, and I support those movements. But guess what? I could work with any of them
Right.
if the intentions are sincere.
Right.
So although I am a Pan-Africanist, if I think you are insincere, even if we are ideologically homogenous, I won't work with you
Right.
because you're a hustler.
Right.
On the flip side, you could be a Bible-toting, white Jesus-worshiping
Yeah.
Christian, but if I believe you really trying to make a difference for black folks, I will unite with you. At the end of the day, it's not the ideology that matters the most. It's the purity of your heart and your intentions. And a lot of people in today's conscious movement, the YouTube voices, not to throw nobody under the bus, brother,
Right.
I couldn't give you three.
Yeah, me neither.
I couldn't give you three who I would say he sincerely cares about his people.
Yeah.
And even if he didn't make a dollar, he would still do this work. I
Right.
can't give you
Me
three.
neither. And for me, and for me being on the rap side, because I know the youth is what the most important thing is. And as an artist myself, I can't give you three that I would want to sit down with. Because again, at the end of the day, I understand it's a lot of clickbait. It's just a lot of bullshit. You know, it's just a lot of you dudes are doing things that I can't understand.
Yes.
I'm from a place where you don't do that.
Yes.
Like if you have a sincere problem, you address the problem. Now, if you want to have a dialogue, put your video out, ask for a response, and even if you don't ask for a response, make valid points that I can respond to.
Yes.
But to assassinate the character of another guy, I just you know, a lot of times I don't understand it. But with going back to the school, when you went to get, is the school recognized in Delaware right now? Or
Well,
you still
remember,
working on it?
yes, it is. You don't get officially recognized as a school till you are operating.
Okay.
So I have to be at the point where I'm ready to accept the students in.
Okay.
That's when I let Delaware know we are now officially applying for our certificate or license to operate an independent school in the state of Delaware.
Okay.
So we got to rehab that building first. But in other words, in order to get approved by the state, you got to first be approved by license and inspections to even have kids inside of there. You follow me? So we got to go through that. We dealing with the building now before we even hit the bureaucracy.
Yeah. Makes sense. Because again, got to be up to standard.
Yeah, got to be up to standard.
What about with the building, with the school? What have you done to ensure that when it's time, do you have a date? Do you have a
no, not a hard date
because you need the money.
Because you need the money.
Get it right.
Can't have a hard date.
Yeah.
But the beauty is the building, as opposed to it being one castle, it's 4 smaller castles. That helps us. Because as you know, being in real estate, you can operate this and have everything off over here. You follow? Exactly. That's been a beauty. So I can focus in on the Marcus Garvey building, which is about 12 buildings.
Right.
12 classrooms, 2 bathrooms, computer lab.
Kicking how over there?
it got what we need.
Right.
So I'm looking at that and I'm like, if we started with this, we can handle this.
Right.
So that's why we focusing on that, because that'll give us 2 or 3 years to show and prove
what we can do.
Raise that money for the big one. Because once we get in the Frederick Douglass building, it's a wrap, brother.
Yeah.
That's a modern gym, modern, gigantic gym.
Yeah.
Separate lunchroom.
Yeah.
16 class, big hallways.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Frederick Douglass building, my brother, would be the central black organizing headquarters in America. Every conference, you trying to do a hip hop conference, we got all the space you need.
Right.
Vendors, entertainment.
Right.
Grass outside. You follow what I'm saying? Like,
yes, sir. I see where you going.
And the reason I'm so excited when I talk about the campus, as someone who speaks as much as I do,
right,
I can probably only name for you 5 places, one hand, of places I've spoken in, and this is global, not just in America.
Right.
That's owned by us. 99% of the time when I'm speaking in property that we had to rent from another person. You see,
you're speaking to us.
And you're speaking to us, which means I have to watch my message to a degree.
Right.
For
they say next time, no more.
Next time, no more.
Yeah.
Or bring the police in on you right then and there.
Get him out of here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we will have a facility where we can fit all the people we need.
Yeah.
Do all the music we need, all the food we need, all the vendors we need. One-stop shop. And I'm going to market that as a conference center. So guess what, Delta Sigma Theta? Guess what, Kappa Alpha Psi?
Yeah.
Guess what, Omega Psi Phi, Phi Beta Sigma, Sigma Gamma Rho, Zeta Phi Beta, right? When y'all need a space to do a conference, why are you giving $250,000 to Hyatt? Why are you giving $250,000 to Hilton?
Right.
Why are you giving $250,000 to Best Western?
Right.
When you can come here and give that $250,000 to us, you can operate our school for the whole year if you do your conference. It's a nice school. It's modern.
Yeah.
Modern, not old, modern.
Right.
We got all the class space y'all need.
Yeah.
We got all the luncheon space y'all need.
Right.
Let us do it and let my students cater it with our hotel, restaurant, and tourism school. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm putting organizations on a spot. When we up and running, I better not catch you.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Giving your money to a white hotel.
Yeah.
When you got an independent school with the facilities you need that you can go to. It is Wilmington, 30 minutes from the Philadelphia airport, 2 hours from D.C., on the river, historic city.
Yeah.
How can you say no?
Right. Do you meet any resistance? Are you still meeting resistance, or was the building, was that like a turning point for the goal? Was that when you got
For me, it was a turning point. Spiritually and psychologically, because through those 5 years, brothers, because of the real estate racism, I kept coming into buildings that we could afford, like the Philly building, getting redlined through racism. There was a school in Trenton, New Jersey, redlined through racism. There was a school in Detroit, Michigan that I really wanted, owned by brothers. I didn't get that building because they didn't want to work with me on the price. We couldn't afford the whole thing.
Okay.
But we could put down more than half. Right? And pay the rest off. They didn't work with us because we would have been in Detroit.
That's a good place, too.
Yeah, very good place.
Yeah, for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was about to go to Atlanta. There was a black-owned church school in Atlanta. It wasn't quite what I wanted, but Atlanta is a big Dr. Umar city.
Yes.
So I was going to work with it. But then my mother fell ill, so I couldn't make that relocation. Otherwise, I would be in Atlanta now.
Makes sense.
But I think it was all by divine design.
Yeah.
Because the Delaware building, significantly better in terms of amenities than any of the other ones.
Now, when you meet that racism, real estate racism, are there laws to govern that? Is there any?
Yes, you're supposed to report it. You're supposed to report it to the feds. The feds do the investigation. If the feds find that there was wrongdoing on a part of the realtor, they will give you a certificate that allows you to now go to a regular attorney and sue them for that discrimination.
Okay.
But because I've been so busy between mom and school and everything else, I hadn't had time to follow up on that.
Right.
But I should have. I just been so busy. But that's the way that goes.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to report it to the feds. They will look at it to see if it meets the definition.
Okay.
And if it does, they now give you the authority to go get a lawyer and pursue them.
Okay. Let me ask you, have you, when you first started, I heard you mention some curriculum. I'm going to get you to,
the 6 core curriculums of FDMG. I don't mention math required. I don't mention language required.
Right.
I don't mention science required.
Right.
And I don't mention social studies and civics required.
Right.
Right. So on top of the requireds,
Right.
there is agricultural and agronomical science where we want to teach them the science of how to live off the soil, grow your own food.
Right.
So right now we're actually scouting property to buy about 1 to 2 acres of land that will be used for the FDMG farm. Right. So we got the agricultural agronomical. Then we also got the diet and nutritional. So we want to teach them how to eat to live. So we will have home economics. They will be taught how to make food, understanding the mineral and nutritional properties of what you eat and how it impacts the body. So we basically want to take the Dr. Sebi science and put it into the minds of our children so that every boy that graduates from the school will be a walking, talking nutritional doctor in his own right.
Right.
Then we got the political and military science, which I'm going to teach the bulk of that. Because that is making sure they understand the way the world operates. Why was Barack Obama made president? They need to know that.
Right.
Why is Africa the most minerally rich continent in the world, but the people are in the worst condition? They need to know that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that myself, but I don't even know that.
Well, okay. When the white man colonized Africa, first there was slavery. When slavery ended, colonization basically took off, right? So first we're going to steal your people.
Right.
Once we done making them work for free, we're going to come into Africa and make y'all work for free and rob you. Now, there was a revolution to push the white man out. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana led the way, with Ghana in 1957 becoming the first African country to gain independence post-colonialism. And post-colonialism is basically a non-emotional word, to describe a very inhumane thing, such as the rape, exploitation, and dehumanization of people in their indigenous habitat. See, the white man puts words on things to kill the emotion behind it. Somebody say slavery. Well, slavery, that don't sound too bad. Colonialism, no, but when you see what they did,
then that's what makes the difference.
That's what makes the difference. So they pushed the white man out. But on the way out the door, the white man started sabotaging all the infrastructure that he built in Africa. So guess what he was doing? Blowing up his own buildings, poisoning the water.
I leave nothing.
I'm going to leave nothing. Since y'all kicking me out, I'm going to leave everything that I built because I didn't build it for y'all. I built it for me to exploit y'all.
Exactly.
So then the Africans said, wait, we need these buildings. We need the railroad. We need that. We need the shit. What you doing? The white man said, well, if you need it, you got to pay me. Whoa. Y'all been robbing us for a century.
Right.
You done stole diamonds, gold, coltan, oil, animals, plants. What I got to pay? If you don't want me to destroy this any further, sign the contract that you're going to pay me for all this infrastructure. That's how Africa got put into debt. When people say, if the white man robbed us blind, why do we owe him? All African nations are in debt to European nations right now. This very moment. Everyone. You say, how can that be when they done robbed us of people? And they robbed us of resources? How can we owe y'all? Because on the way out the door, they were destroying.
Pay me or kill.
Pay me, I'm going to destroy your whole infrastructure. Reluctantly, we had no option, so we signed.
Godly.
And then the white man said, on top of paying me for this infrastructure, if you need any money to build up your new independent country, you need schools, you need hospitals, you need jobs, you need factory, you need medicine, paper, pens, pencils, whatever you need, I'm going to loan you the money. But here's 3 things you're going to do. Number 1, I'm going to charge you 1,000% interest. If you ever want to know why the more money Africa get, the worse off Africa is because the interest on the loan, you can't pay it back in a million years.
It's too deep.
It's too deep to pay back. So basically, you're not purchasing a loan. You're purchasing slavery. Every time an African nation accepts a loan from abroad, they are in essence giving up a part of their freedom.
What are they getting loans for?
For infrastructure.
Oh, to just
exactly. Because remember now, when you took over the country, you had no bank, you had no reserve, you had no credit line. You feel me? It's like I just came into this office right now and kicked you out because you stole it from me.
Right.
You start blowing up all the speakers and whoa.
Yeah.
He said, all right, you want me to leave it? You're going to pay me for it.
Right.
Then you leave. I still got what you left.
Yeah.
But you did some damage to it.
Right.
I got to repair that, and I got the bill on top of that.
To pay. Yeah.
Because remember, when you was running my country, you only did what you needed to do to exploit the resources.
Right.
You didn't give us no schools. You ain't give us no houses. You could give
nothing about that.
Hell, you would kill us if we didn't. You follow?
Yeah.
So I need money. We ain't got no line of credit because this is the first day of the new country.
Got to go to the same individuals
that destroyed you, robbed you, raped you, enslaved you, colonized you, and take out a loan. So you know what they going to do? They're going to set the terms in such a way that every time you come back for more money, all you're doing is giving me more control over your decision-making power. So the first thing they do is they're going to charge you 1,000% interest. This is why with every loan, Africa gets in worse condition. With every loan, Africa gets in worse condition. Second thing they're going to do, they got something called structural adjustment programs. You know what that means? That means we're going to dictate how you're going to run your economy. And the first thing we're going to dictate is you must not prohibit any European businesses from coming into your country to operate their businesses and sell to your people. Why is that a problem? Because it means I cannot protect any homegrown national industries. Let me give you an example. You in Ghana, right? In Ghana, let's say you got palm oil. Senegal, you got salt.
Right.
Zambia, you got tea. Nigeria, you got coffee. Right? So you might say, I got my own coffee. I don't need Maxwell House. I got my own tea. I don't need Lipton. I got my own salt. I don't need Morton's. I got my own chicken. I don't need Purdue. White man said, the terms of this loan mean you must have a free market economy. When you hear the word free market economy, you know what that means?
Mean whoever had the most money win.
Exactly. So guess what? I can't compete with Morton salt. They can grow it quicker. They can refine it. They can sell it cheap. You follow? So now you got a national company owned by the government competing in their own country with a foreign company selling the same thing
with government backing.
So when you go to Africa, you say, why are Africans in Senegal buying Morton salt from America when Senegal is known for its salt? Because when Morton comes to Senegal, they can sell the native salt industry lower price, quicker, more, and they put you out of business. That's why you got African countries that grow tea, importing tea from Europe.
Crazy.
You got your own chicken. You importing chicken from America with all these chickens you got. Why? Because you can't compete with them. They sabotage your economy. Now you dependent on them. You see that? Now you dependent. And then the third thing they do, so you got your structural adjustment, which basically sabotage your economy. 1,000% interest, sabotage your freedom. And then they got this new thing that came in under Obama. It was already there, but Obama made it stronger, and that is population control planning. Oh, yes, brother. Oh, yes. You know what this means? You want this money? You're going to do three things. Number one, birth control, abortion, and hysterectomy must be made freely available to the women. Oh, yes. You're going to push birth control. Yes. Yes. You're going to push contraceptives. Yes. Yes. You're going to push hysterectomy. In fact, you're going to pay black women to get their insides taken. Oh, yes. When I was in South Africa, I'll never forget it, 2005, my first time there. I've been there many times since. On the way to the airport, there was a big billboard. It said, hysterectomies, $500 we will pay you. Did you hear that? You don't have to pay us. We're going to give you $500 to get your reproductive system taken out. And guess what? Because of the economy that has been created in Africa by the white man, a lot of our sisters go for it because economically it's so stressful to live. African poverty is nothing like black American poverty. Go to the worst hood in America, the worst hood. It can't compete with a ghetto in Johannesburg, a ghetto in Ghana, a ghetto in Sierra Leone. Brother, it don't even begin to compete with it. You see, you're talking about poverty on a whole new level. So you got a young black girl struggling, already got 2 kids. White man saying, I'll give you $500 if you let me take out your reproductives. But what he ain't going to tell you is when he take out your reproductives, he probably going to put some cancer or some AIDS in you.
Shit,
you see? So, and then the LBGT, that's why that's being pushed in Africa too, under Obama. Remember, it was Barack Obama who went to the president of Uganda and Liberia, and I think Tanzania. And I was in Liberia around that time that crisis kicked, and Obama threatened many African nations. Those are just 3 that come to mind because those presidents stood up and said, you don't come here and tell us how to run our culture. We've been around this is the president of Uganda. I'm paraphrasing. He said, we've been around 2 million years. Who are you to come to my country and tell me that I have to make it legal for a man to marry a man? We are African. That is not how we build families. If y'all want to do that in Europe or America, you do that in Europe and America.
Right.
And Obama said, if you don't make gay marriage legal, we will cut off your aid. Here's the question. Why does an American president give a damn as to whether or not an African country legalizes homosexuality? Because through the legalization of homosexuality, you control the black population growth rate.
Sense.
Homosexuality is birth control. Lesbianism is birth control. Right. And it is a more powerful form of birth control than any pill or any contraceptive. This is an extermination. See, we've had 4 periods in our sojourn in America.
Right.
4 centuries, 4 periods. 1619, 1719. That was a period of shock. We was trying to understand what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
We never saw white folks before, a lot of us. We just took a 90-day boat ride through hell.
90 days.
Sleeping in feces and menstrual blood and shackled the dead bodies. And then you come out from that, a land you don't know, white folks you never seen, giving you names you don't relate to and forcing you to do work without pay. We were in trauma, brother. That first century was trauma. Second century, 1719 to 1819, that's when we begin to try to fight for our humanity. Because remember, the European enslavement of the African is the first slavery where the victim was stripped of their humanity. See, people always say, why y'all keep talking about slavery? Everybody been slaves. Y'all ain't the first slaves. In fact, the word slave comes from Slav, which describes one of the first European groups to be enslaved in Europe. Right?
Okay.
That's true. We're not the first, but we're the only ones ever, including biblical slavery, to be stripped of your humanity, to be told that you are not a human being. So our second century, we had to fight to prove we were people, and we forget that. A lot of black people forget before you could fight to be free, you had to fight to prove that you were a person worthy of the freedom.
Yes.
Third century, 1819 to 1919. That was a fight for freedom. That's from the birth of Frederick Douglass to the rise of Marcus Garvey. Okay. That's your Nat Turner. That's your Harriet Tubman. That's your Shaka Zulu. That's your Haitian Revolution. Yes, in fact, that century there, the third one, 1819 to 1919, I would argue, was our greatest century since the fall of the great kingdoms of Africa. Because in that century, you got your Pan-Africanism, most of your major slave revolts, your greatest African and African-American leaders from Shaka Zulu to Frederick Douglass. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You see, that was our century right there. That was it. We ain't done nothing before or since in this country that we've done 1819 and 1919. Right. From Douglass to Garvey. Right. Can't touch it. Right. Then you got 1919 to 2019. I want to split this in two. Okay. I want to go 1919 to 1968. Okay. Assassination of King. Okay. And I want to go the Assassination of King to today. Okay. Right? Okay. 1919 to 1968. Okay. We started off with the same organized power we had coming out of the third century. Right. The movements was there. Garvey was there. Yes. You know, NAACP wasn't doing much for us, but it got formed. The black labor unions was coming. We was coming. Right. Dr. King, Malcolm, we coming. Yeah, and then the white man said, in 1968, we got to stop this because it is threatening the status quo in this country of white over black. Oh, yeah. In what way? In several ways. Let's go back 20 years. 1954, right? Civil Rights Bill is 64, but they desegregated the schools 10 years earlier. 54. Okay. Why did they desegregate the schools? This was the beginning. The 54 was the beginning. The reason they desegregated the schools wasn't for us to sit with the white kids. It wasn't to give us a better education. They were afraid that if they did not kill independent black education, it would surpass white education. Remember now, we were inventing things in that one-room black schoolhouse white kids were not thinking about. Remember, the gas mask. You wasn't sitting next to white folks when you invented that. The refrigerated truck. You wasn't sitting next to white folks when you invented that. The stoplight. You wasn't sitting next to white folks when you invented that. When Charles Drew separated blood plasma. He wasn't sitting next to white folks when he was a child in school thinking about doing that. Facts. Walkie-talkies and baby carriages and ironing boards and golf tees. Yes, sir. The white man said, look at what these Negro kids are creating. If we don't kill this, they will intellectually dominate this country. That's why they desegregated the schools, to crush the intellectual potential of black
Or to at
children.
least be able to steal from us.
Oh yes,
right?
and steal.
So if I could sit next to you, you know, I could do a little.
Exactly.
Yeah.
54, 64, 74.
Okay.
54, they integrated the schools to kill black intelligence. 64, they gave you the Civil Rights Bill. Once again, why did they do the Civil Rights Bill? The Civil Rights Bill was not passed so you can live with white folks and date white folks and go to their hotels. You know why it was passed? So that they could benefit from the black dollar. Remember, until desegregation, you had Black Wall Street, you had Tulsa, you had Rosewood, you had Charleston, you had Wilmington, North Carolina. You had all these pockets of black economic power. White man said that is a threat.
That is a threat.
That is a threat. Yeah. So we're going to desegregate and make it look like this is for social justice.
We want to keep a close eye on this.
We're going to make it look like it's for social justice, but we are really integrating for economic domination of black capital. Look where we've been since desegregation. You can't show me a black community in America. Mind you, we are a $2 trillion people. We're the richest group of Africans in the world. We're the 10th richest economic nation on the planet. And you can't show me a community in America where black people own a school to educate life, a hospital to protect life, a supermarket to feed life, or a bank to invest in life.
That's dangerous.
This is why they desegregated. Right. And then 68, they assassinated Dr. King, the last visionary, sincere leader of a mass comprehensive movement for black folks for change. When they killed King, they said we got to make sure we never get another one ever again.
Right.
Now, at the time that King was murdered, he was considered the most dangerous black man in America. Now, after they murdered King, J. Edgar Hoover declared the Panthers a few years later as the number one threat to American national security. But King was considered, and I agree he was, at 68,
right
after the death of Malcolm, after he visited the grave of Marcus Garvey in Jamaica, he came back preaching just like Garvey. If you listen to any of Dr. King's speeches after he went to visit the grave of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, those Garveyites, those Jamaicans got into him, and he came back preaching Garvey. And that's what he said, he got to go because the man that we killed Malcolm for became Malcolm. And you know, Malcolm was a son of Garveyites. His mother and father, Earl and Louise Little, used to run the UNIA chapter, I believe, in Lansing, Michigan, for the Honorable Marcus Garvey. His mother used to write for the Negro World Garvey paper. So that yes,
I didn't know that.
Malcolm was a Garveyite. Elijah Poole was a Garveyite. They all come from Garvey. So they said we got to make sure we don't get another Dr. King.
Right.
They said, how did Dr. King manage to pull this off without us financing him?
Right.
They said independent black businesses financed the civil rights movement. White man said, yeah. They said, yes. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to go into the ghetto and we're going to crush the independent black businesses. How you going to do that? Two things. Number one, we're going to go into their high schools. We're going to go into Chattanooga. We're going to go to Memphis. We're going to go to Nashville. We're going to go to Knoxville. Right. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to go into every black high school and take out all the building trades. We're going to make sure they cannot be taught how to use their hands to feed their family ever again. They took out auto shop. They took out the electric program. They took out plumbing. They took out welding. They took out HVAC. This is what they did. This is what they did. This is the beginning of the war between the black woman and the black man. They made the black man economically irrelevant to the black woman's life. They said, this is how we going to kill black power. We're going to set the family against each other. If we can set the black woman against the black man, he won't have time to fight us because he got to fight his own woman.
That's fact.
So they went into the high schools and took out all the building trades. Think about it. Before 1980, the black community was never about going to college to take care of our family because we wasn't allowed in the colleges.
Right.
So they would change this. So while they taking away our economics by making sure our boys ain't learning the skills that pay the bills, making sure our boys no longer learn the skills that pay the bills. They started this college education propaganda. Go to college. America is integrated now. You can go to Harvard and Stanford and Yale, and we sent our kids $100,000 loans. Go. Failing to realize that even though they got that degree, who gonna give them a job?
Right.
It was a trap.
Right.
It was a trap.
Right.
So then 1970, they economically decimated us. And then they took all the factories out the black community. You go to most northern and midwestern cities, Detroit, Chicago, Philadelphia, Baltimore, you see old factories.
Yeah.
That's where we used to work.
Yeah.
Good jobs, made more then than we make now with college degrees. They got rid of all of them.
Yeah.
That was the 1970s. But they wasn't done. 1980s, CIA drop off the crack cocaine. Boom!
Yeah.
So now the black man can no longer earn with his hands. He got to make a decision with this crack. This is a booming business. You can smoke it to deal with the pain of not being able to provide for your family,
right,
or you can try to sell it and provide for your family.
Right.
Either way,
you're tearing us up.
And you're going to jail, which takes us to 1990, Bill Clinton crime bill, 1994. Boom! Look at this. Yeah. Every decade since they killed King, they didn't hit us. Ooh. So the 70s, economic castration. 80s, the crack. 1990, Bill Clinton crime bill under a Democratic president that black people consider to be one of their best.
Yeah. Our boy.
You got Bill Clinton locked up more black men than any Republican president since Reconstruction.
Right.
Mandatory 3 strikes and you out. Mandatory federal minimum wages for nonviolent drug-related offenses. Kicked millions of black women off welfare in the welfare to work program. And then he did something else under the table we wasn't even watching. He criminalized child support. That was Clinton. Clinton did that. That happened under Bill Clinton. Before Bill Clinton, you didn't go to jail if you didn't have a job to pay your child support.
Right.
He snuck that in. And the reason he was able to snuck it in is because I don't think they put the language directly in the crime bill. Right. So the black community didn't fight it because they didn't know that was part of the whole mix.
Right.
He criminalized child support. So any black man with a child technically is on parole any damn way.
Now that's deep.
10 more years, we come to the year 2000, election of George W. Bush for president. He comes in with the FBI faith-based initiative, where he finds a loophole in federal law that allows him to fund black church. If you want to know why you ain't seen the black church involved in any major struggle affecting black folks, have you noticed that you don't see the black church dealing with police genocide?
At all.
You don't see the black church dealing with miseducation. You don't see the black church dealing with unemployment. You don't see the black church dealing with mass incarceration. Can you name one thing that the black church is at the forefront of changing for black folks? You can't. Why? Because in Y2K, the new millennium came with a new takeover of the black church. The federal government now owns the black church. FBI, faith-based initiative. Your pastor is the new snitch.
Now that's deep. Now that's what year was this?
2000.
Okay.
Which is also the same year that the federal government decided that they were going to take back all major cities from blacks and gentrify them back in the hands of whites.
Yep.
That was Y2K.
Yep.
You're seeing it now, but it was decided 20 years ago.
Right.
That was Y2K. They unemployed us. They drug addicted us. They mass incarcerated us. They neutralized the black church, and they took back the ghettos.
Now with the college propaganda.
Oh man,
when
2 million unemployed African Americans with masters and doctorate degrees. That's what you got in America. I didn't say bachelors. I didn't say associates. I said masters, and these the top of the top. Brother, I occasionally get resumes from lawyers, brother. Lawyer, law degree, licensed attorney. I can't find
trying to ask you to put them to work.
Trying to put them to work.
Man, this is crazy.
We got to go back to the skills.
So tell me, with the school, are you, for your school, are you teaching the kids to leave school without needing college? There's no college for FDMG.
No. Because you still have to have your black professional class.
Okay.
In other words, there's certain professions you cannot practice without college degree.
That's right.
Right?
Because of the structure.
Because of the structure. Because they require licenses and certifications that you can only get if you have the credential. Right. Medical doctor, you got to go to college.
Right.
Lawyer, you got to go to college. Educator, engineer, psychologist, pharmacist, you got to go to college. So for those children who want to be something that requires college, we sending them.
Okay.
But for the ones who ain't interested in that, why do they have to do that?
Right.
The issue is options. Know that you can build your economic empire and legacy for your children's children.
Right.
You can do it without a college degree.
Right.
Don't let nobody intimidate you and make you fearful of not going to college in order to be successful, because the top 1% richest people in the world never set foot in the university.
Yeah. And a lot of people I know this rich never
set foot in the university.
Yeah. So now dude. That's loaded. Like that's a lot of shit. That's a lot of information. That's great information. Let me ask you this. Now, with that being said, because a lot of stuff, like I said, this stuff has to get out to the masses.
Yes.
We need this information. Back in, I think, 2014, 2015, 2016, there was a almost like a push for our youth, in my opinion, again, from the outside, from being boots on the ground and not wrapped up in that industry stuff. I see Dr. Umar on Breakfast Club.
Mm-hmm.
I see Farrakhan on Breakfast Club. I see Brother Polite on Breakfast Club. I see, Umar on Vlad. I see Umar on 106 this and that. And then, I don't know if it was the LGBT stuff or something happened. And then it was poof.
Yeah.
Umar's no longer on Breakfast Club. He's not. I don't.
The
understand.
gift was the curse. On the one hand, the hip hop community knew that the youth were beginning to become woke. So they said, if we want to stay relevant,
we're
going to have to somehow cater to this new woke movement,
right,
because it might overtake hip hop.
Right.
So if hip hop does not get on top of the wokeness might topple hip hop.
Right.
That's what brought us into that, because for the first time you had the people listen to the gangster rap,
right,
but then they'll turn on some Dr. Umar, some John Henry Clark, right? So then the shot callers said, look at this.
Right.
Okay, we got to get out in front of this because we don't need this backfiring on us.
Right.
So that's when they rolled out the red carpet to the conscious movement.
Right.
First, they let everybody else come. Of course, I'm going to be one of the last ones because my message is too strong for mainstream.
Right.
So I was at Columbia, South Carolina. Only been there once.
Okay.
Brother walked up to me, young brother. He said, you need to be on the Breakfast Club. I said, brother, I'm never getting on the platform. He said, listen, take this card. This is Charlemagne's. It was either Charlemagne's card or Charlemagne's agent.
Right.
He said, call him. I said, I'll give it a shot. I said, bruh, trust me. I'm too strong for these platforms.
Yeah.
But sure enough, I hit him. And the brother said, we've been wanting to do this.
Yeah.
So we did the first Breakfast Club, right? I didn't think nothing of it. Good interview. Charlemagne was cool. Envy was cool. Went well. Good brothers. Angie. Left that thing, brother. That thing went viral. Yeah. That was 2014.
Yeah. Boof. Yeah.
I said, oh, shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's going to
Charlemagne was like, yo, we got to do it again.
Yeah.
I said, let's do it. Came back 15.
Yeah.
Viral again. I said 2.
Because it's the hip hop mix.
Yes.
That's what this is.
The last one. The crazy thing about the last one was almost canceled. That's when I got on the bright orange dashiki.
Mm-hmm.
I was running late. I called the queen who set up. I said, cancel this. I'm on some strip in New York. The traffic backed up. Envy and Charlemagne said, tell them to come on. We got to do it. Whatever we can get in, we going to get.
Right.
That was the shortest of the 3 because I was late.
Right.
Might have been 38 minutes.
Right.
That one went more viral than the previous 2. And if I don't got the stats on this, but I believe it is the most watched political interview in Breakfast Club history.
Okay.
And it's one of the most watched interviews, period, in Breakfast Club history.
Right.
I would argue that interview may have been watched more than any rapper interview they did that year.
Right.
You can't go off the Breakfast Club totals because people snatch it and repost it. So you got to add it. You follow? They ranked it number 9.
Yeah.
They ranked it as the 9th most powerful interview of that year.
Right.
But in terms of pure views, I think it got more than Jay and everybody of that year. I never forget it. After the second interview, not even the third, after the second one, I went to T-Mobile because it was time to go to Africa.
Yeah.
And I went to T-Mobile phone because they got a better international.
Okay.
Plan. The brother, you got to give me your name, get the new phone.
Yeah.
I got my hat.
Yeah.
He said, Umar Johnson. He said, yo, was you the dude? I said, yeah. He said, you the one on the breakfast. He said, bruh, that interview is everywhere you look.
Yeah.
I laughed.
Yeah.
He said, bruh, I'm not playing with you.
You ain't understand.
Go on anybody's Facebook, anybody's Instagram right now, and your interview is the thing right now.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's when I had to step back and say, okay, they were going to start watching me now.
Yeah.
Because they're going to say, who is this psychologist?
He's going. Boom, boom, bam, bam,
they
bam,
watching
bam,
him more than the people we put out front.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be back on Breakfast Club November. Shout out to Charlemagne. He looked out for me. But I hit the highway late, and then he had to make a change and asked me if I could come in a little early. It didn't work.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting for that next invite. But here's what I want to say.
Hey, it's your boy Looney from It's Up There Podcast. Thank you for watching the video you just watched, and make sure you subscribe by hitting the button you see on the screen, or go to the next video by hitting this right here you see on the screen. Big It's Up There Podcast.